Before we dive in, I want to clear something up because this topic is often misunderstood, misrepresented, and sometimes even used to blame people for things that were never their fault. I am not saying that thoughts create reality. Thoughts do not move matter. They do not override physics. They do not make events appear out of thin air. Mountains existed before humans. Gravity worked before anyone believed in it. Reality exists independently of us. This is objective reality, physics, biology, causality, and time. But here's a part that's often overlooked. Why thoughts do not directly create reality, they shape the conditions through which reality unfolds. They influence perception, guide behavior, and determine the patterns we repeatedly live inside. It matters because so many people have been hurt by the idea that if something bad happened, they somehow thought it into existence. And that is simply not true, in my humble opinion. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to another episode with me, Ani. I'm so glad you're here today because this episode is very, very important and honestly a little misunderstood in many spaces. Today, we are going to slow things down and not spiritualize it, but explain it in a way that is grounded, responsible, and actually useful. We're going to explore how reality really works and why your mind matters and how the feminine principle, intuition, receptivity, and coherence interacts with the field of possibilities. This is not magic, it's biology, neuroscience applied in a way that can actually help you navigate life more consciously. So, where the mind actually comes in. This is where most conversations about reality go wrong, not because people don't get it, but because the distinction is very subtle and it's rarely explained properly. Again, thoughts do not create reality, but they absolutely influence how we participate in it. And participation matters because none of us meet reality directly. We meet it through perception, interpretation, memory, emotions, and the state of our nervous system. Your thoughts shape what you notice. Two people walk into the same room. One sees opportunities, the other one sees threat. Your thoughts shape how you interpret situation. Is this a challenge or is this a rejection? Is this a feedback or is this an attack? Your thoughts shape how you behave. Do you lean in or do you pull back? Do you speak or do you stay silent? They shape how long you persist or give up, how many times you try again, how much discomfort you can tolerate before you retreat. And yes, they even shape how other people respond to you. Not because you're manifesting them like characters in the game, but because humans are exquisitely sensitive to signals, tone, posture, confidence, hesitation, regulation, and presence. None of this alters the laws of physics. None of this bends reality, but it does change probabilities and pathways within realities. So let me give you a sentence I want you to really sit with, not only intellectually, but experientially. Reality exists independently of us, but which part of it we live in depends on how we perceive, respond to, and interact with it. Same world, different filters, different actions, different outcomes. And if that feels abstract, here is a simpler way to say it. We don't create reality with our thoughts. We participate in reality through them. Your mind is not like a magic wand. It's a navigation system. It doesn't invent a terrain, but it determines which roads you take, which doors you notice, and which ones you walk past without ever realizing they were open. And once you understand that, something important shifts. You stop trying to control reality and you start learning how to meet it more consciously. And that's where real power actually is. Now, what do I mean by the field of possibilities? Let's slow down and unpack this phrase. The field of possibilities, I know it can sound a bit abstract, even mystical in the wrong hands, but let me be very clear on this. This is not a magical cloud that bends you to your thoughts or desires. It's something very real, grounded, and science-based. Reality already contains countless potential paths. Every day, there are opportunities, interactions, and moments waiting to unfold. But here's the catch. Only some of those paths are actually reachable from where you are right now. You can't just step into every possibility, not because you're bad or blocked, but because there are constraints built into that system itself. In physics, this is described through probability distributions. A system has a multiple outcomes, not because beliefs can conjure them, but because uncertainty laws and existing conditions determine which paths are physically and logically possible. Here's an important distinction I want you to really sit with. Possibility is not a guarantee. It's not a desire, and it's not intention. The system, whether we're talking about particles in a lab or life unfolding, evolves according to laws, not wishes. The universe doesn't bend for optimism alone. It follows physics, biology, and causality. So what determines your personal field of possibilities? It is shaped by your biology and your nervous system, how safely and coherently your body can receive, engage, and respond, your psychology and trauma history, the unprocessed pattern that subtly shrinks or expands to what it feels reachable, your skills and knowledge, what you're equipped to act on, your environment and social structures, the realities you can actually navigate. These factors create the real boundaries of what is statistically, physically, and socially accessible to you. So a more honest, grounded way to put it is this. Many futures are possible, but only some are statistically reachable from your current state. Let's pause and let that sink in for a moment. Think about your own life. Two people might sit in the same room, face the same opportunities, even share similar dreams, yet their paths diverge dramatically. Why? Not because one of them are more magical than the other one or can manifest better. It's because their field of possibilities shaped by their biology, their past, their psychology, and their social structure around them allowed different outcomes to emerge. The truth is both humbling and empowering. You may not be able to choose any reality, but you can work consciously to expand the paths that are reachable. You can regulate your nervous system, heal trauma, build skills, and navigate environments more effectively. And as you do, your field of possibilities grow. More options open, more aligned outcomes become statistically likely. In short, your life is not random, but it is also not dictated by wishes alone. You're participating in reality, and understanding the rules of your field of possibilities is the first step towards navigating it intentionally. So, where does a feminine principle fit? This is where the feminine principle truly shines and why it's often misunderstood in both spiritual and practical conversations. The feminine does not force reality into existence. It doesn't push, grab, or manipulate the outcomes. Instead, it creates the conditions in which things can emerge. Think of it as a fertile soil in which life grows. Without that soil, the seed cannot sprout, no matter how strong the sun shines and how much water you give it. Across biology and psychology, creations happens through receptivity, coherence, timing, and containment. That is feminine intelligence, the quiet, powerful art of allowing, holding, and nurturing until the right moment. Masculine creation is like linear. It is direction, execution, action. It's like that hammer shaping the sculpture, that hand building the city, and the pen writing the law. Feminine creation, in contrast, is the field, the ecosystem that makes growth possible. And without it, nothing lands, nothing take roots, nothing lasts. Consider this: a womb, an ecosystem to support it, a regulated body to sustain it, a safe container to allow growth. The feminine principle manifests through what is allowed to enter and stay, what it nourishes and what it rejects. This is not mysticism. This is system theory in action. And here's something I want you to think about. The feminine is the architect of possibilities. It determines which seeds of potentials have the environment, timing, and support to become reality. You could have had every tool available to you, but without the receptive, coherent, and safe container, nothing will flourish. And you know the fascinating part? This is not passive, it's active creation, but in a subtle, intelligent, and highly effective way. It's how nature works, how ideas grow, and how relationships thrive. When you understand this, you realize that true manifestation isn't just about doing or wanting, it's about preparing the field first, allowing the right conditions, and trusting the process of emerging. The nervous system and the feminine gatekeeper. This is where everything becomes grounded in real science, not philosophy, not spirituality, and not wishful thinking. Your nervous system is the gatekeeper of your life, your reality. A regulated nervous system allows trust, bonding, curiosity, presence, opportunities to be noticed, approached, and sustained. A dysregulated nervous system does the opposite. It repels safety, sabotages consistency, it collapses opportunities before they can even mature. Not because you're bad at manifesting, but because the body is doing its primary job, keeping you alive. So manifestation doesn't fail because the universe isn't listening. It fails because the body is not available to receive it. And that is not mystical, that is just neurobiology. The body decides before the mind. And I think that concept is absolutely fascinating. It is something most people never learn. Your nervous system decides before your conscious mind does. If your body associates love with danger, instability, or loss, it will shut down connections, even if your mind says, I want love. If your body associates success with pressure, exposure, or punishment, it will hesitate, procrastinate, or self-sabotage, even if you desire success deeply. So the real question here is not, what do I want? The real question here is, what can my body safely receive and hold without going into collapse? This is the feminine creation in action. Now, trauma shrinks the field of possibilities. Trauma does not block the reality metaphysically. It doesn't curse you, or it doesn't make you low vibration. It shrinks the field of possibilities neurologically. When the nervous system is stuck in survival, fewer options feel safe, fewer risks feel tolerable, and fewer future feels reachable. The world hasn't gotten smaller. Your access to it has. Two people can stand in the same objective reality and live completely different lives because their nervous systems are interpreting different threats level. Same field, different gates open. This is the feminine question that changes everything. The feminine doesn't ask, what do I want to force into existence? She asks, what can I receive? What can I sustain? And what can I stay present with over time? Because anything your system cannot hold, it will eventually push away, even if it arrives. This is why healing the nervous system is not self-care fluff. It is reality access. Now let's talk about the feminine intuition. This is where intuition is so often misunderstood. The feminine does not push outcomes. She doesn't force timing. She doesn't override reality. She senses when. That's intuition. Not magic, not fantasy, not just a feeling. In neuroscience, intuition is your nervous system integrating information faster than conscious thoughts. It includes interoception, sensing signals from inside the body, predictive processing, your brain constantly forecasting what's likely to happen next, emotional signal integration, reading tones, energy, microexpression. Your body is always running data. Intuition is what happens when data is allowed to speak. And here's why timing matters more than desires, and we need to talk about it honestly. The same action can succeed or fail purely because of timing. In real life, actions too early kill outcome. Acting too late misses them entirely. This is why force doesn't work. You can be talented, intelligent, and well-intentioned and still sabotage outcomes by moving before the system is ready. Feminine intelligence senses the window, when to lean in, when to wait, when to soften, when to withdraw, not out of fear, but out of attunement. And how does this show up in real life? Let me make this tangible. Love, for example, you don't manifest love by chasing, by proving, by performing. You manifest it by being emotionally available, having clear boundaries, and feeling safe with intimacy and closeness. That state invites the right response, not because you are manifesting a person, but because your nervous system is signaling, I can receive, I can stay, I don't need to chase. That changes who feels drawn to you and who stays. Career, for example, you don't manifest success by grinding endlessly or forcing output. You manifest it by letting ideas gestate, respecting creative cycles, allowing collaboration and feedback. Most breakthroughs don't happen in exhaustion. They happen after rest, integration, and space. The feminine knows when something is still forming and when it is ready to be brought into the world. Money, for example, you don't manifest abundance through affirmations alone. You manifest it by feeling safe to receive, not associating money with danger, guilt, or loss. Being able to hold stability without panic or self-sabotage. If money feels unsafe or threatening to your nervous system, it won't stay, even if it comes in. This is why many lottery winners or sudden inheritors lose their money over time, not because they manifested loss, but because their nervous system isn't calibrated to hold that level of responsibility, visibility, or choice. And this isn't metaphysics. This is biology. So, the feminine doesn't control reality. She attunes to it. She doesn't collapse timeline. She senses which ones are accessible now. And that is not irrational. It is one of the most sophisticated forms of intelligence we have access to. Because creation doesn't respond to force, it responds to readiness. And that's where intuition lives. To wrap this up, here's the cleanest, simplest way to say it. The feminine creates the field. The masculine gives it form. Without the feminine, nothing grows, and without the masculine, nothing lands. This is how creation works everywhere in nature, biology, and systems. It's a pattern you can see in ecosystem, human relationships, innovations, and even everyday life. So let me leave you with this. And please, really let this sink. We don't create reality from nothingness. We navigate a field of possibilities through our perception, regulation, and actions. Same reality, different nervous system, different paths activated. And that quietly, responsibly is what people have been calling manifestation all along. If this episode resonated with you, please do share it with someone who can benefit from this conversation, someone who is tired of sugar-coated fantasy and is ready for an understanding that honors science, biology, and consciousness. I cannot wait to continue exploring this with you, and until next time, stay fierce, stay bold, and always go beyond the mind.